Welcome to the Tech Mobility Podcast, brought to you by Playbook Investors Network, your strategic partner for unstoppable growth. Visit pincommunity.org to get started.
I'm Ken Chester. On the docket, my impressions and review of the 2026 Hyundai Ioniq 9 SUV, the rise of mechanical batteries, and when hypothetical AI met reality. To add your voice to the conversation, be it to ask a question, share an opinion, or even suggest an idea for a future conversation, call or text the Tech Mobility Hotline. That number, 872-222-9793, or you can email the show directly, talk@techmobility.show. From the Tech Mobility News Desk, we're peeking in on Lucid right now. Lucid, the big company that developed the Lucid Air a number of years ago, a sedan that is unbelievably fast. EV, and has this incredible range that right now nobody can beat at 520 miles, and that is EPA certified. 520 miles between chargers, and the thing goes like the wind. I've driven one. Lucid understands and understood that even though their first product was a car, that in order to get the kind of scale they need to get to exist, they needed an SUV. So recently, they introduced the Lucid Gravity. And I so want to drive one. Basically, all the thinking that went into the Lucid Air went into the Gravity, and then they upped it a notch. Now, the original Gravity is like the original Lucid Air. It's a six-figure vehicle. It's not for everybody. But here's a piece in Ward's Auto that talked about 2026. Again, with the changing atmosphere of the elimination of the EV credits and everybody pivoting towards hybrids. Not everybody has gotten out of the pure electric business. There's still a lot of companies deeply involved, big time committed, and making progress. People didn't stop buying EVs, people. Not as many people bought them, but not everybody stopped. They're still selling. Here's what they did. For 2026, Lucid introduced the Gravity Touring. And it's a rollout of a more affordable version that gives the Lucid Gravity EV a better chance to click with families. Now, relatively, I have to say, relatively. Because this vehicle, introduced at the LA Auto Show this past year, slots just below the Grand Touring, which is everything, the Gravity Grand Touring. But it still has an $81,550 starting price. And it's $15,000 less than the Grand Touring. Top-notch efficiency to provide more miles with less energy is a Lucid strength. And it shows in the Gravity Touring even more than the Grand Touring. The Touring trades out the GT's 123 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which gives you 450 miles, for one just sized at 89 kilowatt hours, and yet all builds of the Gravity Touring still top 300 miles of range. Let me give you a comparison. By comparison, right now, GM's EV pickup trucks, SUVs that are all electric, heavy electric, big 6,000 plus pounds, do 460 miles. This is coming in at 300. The base Touring achieves an EPA range rating of 337 miles. That is comparable right now with the Hyundai Ioniq 9, whether in 5 or 7 passenger form. Choosing one of the larger performance wheel combinations drops the official range to 301 miles. Here's something that I keep telling you, and I'm going to say it again right here. The main advantage any EV has over an internal combustion engined vehicle is that as the automaker improves their logarithms, their battery maintenance operational software, as they get better at it with the software and how they apply it, as they get better at getting power out of the batteries, as they get more efficient at making EV motors, that's available and will be available in the future as an over-the-air update for a fixed amount of money. Can you imagine buying a 2026 Lucid Gravity Touring, range 337 miles? In 2 years from now, in 2028, Lucid says to you, hey, we've developed and improved our software to such that we can upgrade the amount of range that you get from 337 miles to 550 miles. It will cost you $1,295. Are you interested? Yes. They send it, you pay the money, they update it in your garage, and suddenly your 2026 now has increased range. And by the way, increased value as a result. Can't do that with a gasoline-powered engine. What you get's what you get. You can't put in a bigger gas tank into a car. You might be able to do it for a truck, but that's added expense and added challenges for how it works. But imagine an over-the-air update. Safety features, comfort features. This is really the magic that people miss when they poo-poo EVs. They don't realize that the EV you buy today can get improvements for the next 10 years and be almost as good as a brand new one in 2036 as the one you bought in 2026 because of the updates. That 1 million miles is not unreasonable. That's what they're building towards. These are all advantages built into EVs by design, every last one of them. And this is the thing. I think those people who say, I would never drive an EV, oh my God, never ever. They're so weak, oh my God. You have no idea. And no, I do drive a gasoline-powered vehicle. Let's just be clear on everything. As I've been accused, well, you're all about EVs. Excuse me, if you've been following me for any length of time, I have talked to you about the shortcomings of the EV industry that I've experienced firsthand. So yeah, I'm not above talking about the good, bad, and the ugly, because there's still some ugliness out there. But boy, they keep getting closer and closer. The article gives perspective. The fully electric Cadillac Escalade IQ needs a mammoth 205 kilowatt-hour battery pack, and it has a curb weight of almost, 4.5 tons, 9,000 pounds. And all you're going to get is 460 miles out of that. I mentioned the Ioniq 9 a few minutes ago. It's 320 miles with a 110 kilowatt-hour battery pack. So basically, the Lucid Gravity Touring with a smaller battery pack gets almost as much mileage as the larger Hyundai Ioniq 9 with a larger pack. Think about that for a minute. And since Lucid assembles its own battery packs and modules and manages them with their own software, there is built-in flexibility and room for improvement. Like I said, over-the-air updates. Like every EV, the Gravity is quick. If you get it in the dual electric motors configuration like Grand Touring, which makes 560 horsepower, and a crazy 811 foot-pounds of torque, it can get to 60 in 4 seconds. 4 seconds. 4 seconds. And this is the Gravity Touring, 4 seconds. The fastest vehicles are at 2.5 and 2.9 seconds. What's a second and a half between friends? Really? That's where you're at. I want to drive one of these so bad. I want to compare it. I want to see their best thinking in an SUV. I've seen it in a car. I was impressed. This will be worth every penny and better than vehicles costing thousands more. Think about it. Next up are my impressions and review of the all-new Hyundai Ioniq 9. You are listening to the Tech Mobility Show.
In business, opportunity doesn't wait, and neither should you. At Playbook Investors Network, we connect visionary entrepreneurs with the strategies, resources, and capital they need to win. Whether you're launching, scaling, or reimagining your business, our network turns ambition into measurable success. Your vision deserves more than a plan. It deserves a playbook that works. Playbook Investors Network, where bold ideas meet bold results. Visit pincommunity.org today.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than AONmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. AONmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show.
Every great business starts with a spark, but taking it to the next level takes strategy, connections, and capital. That's where Playbook Investors Network comes in. We're your strategic partner for accelerating growth, navigating challenges, and capturing market opportunities before your competition does. Your business is more than an idea. Let's make it an impact. Playbook Investors Network. Your future starts here. Learn more at pincommunity.org.
Stephen Wood owns a Hyundai Santa Fe.
Compared to other SUVs in its class, I found that I got the most value for my money.
It comes with the freedom of America's best warranty.
It shows that Hyundai really stands behind the Santa Fe.
Plus a long list of standard features, including 6-speaker CD.
It's a great SUV. My friends were jealous.
The Hyundai Santa Fe. It's the thinking person's SUV.
Freedom is calling, yeah.
The Hyundai Santa Fe. Your test drive is waiting.
The year is 2001. Hyundai was making a splash with their first SUV, the Santa Fe, which, by the way, they still make. And they were talking that then. They had the knives out back then. They weren't taking prisoners back then. And I told my readers back then and my listeners now that every generation, Hyundai and Kia, didn't just get better. They didn't just evolve. They transformed. They leapfrogged. And in the case of the Santa Fe, they're still doing that. But ironically enough, we're not talking about the Santa Fe right now, but we're talking about something a little larger and equally as impressive. It's all new, fully electric, and built in a brand new, heavily automated manufacturing complex in Bryan County, Georgia. And it's the Hyundai Ioniq 9, a battery electric, mid-size crossover SUV. Unveiled to the American motoring public as a production-ready model at the 2024 Los Angeles Auto Show back in November 2024, the Ioniq 9 boasts styling that was originally previewed as a concept car called the Hyundai 7 Concept back in 2021. Designed under a concept called aerosthetic, the Ioniq 9 incorporates an aerodynamically optimized design such as a dual-motion active air flat at the front, 3D-shaped underbody cover, low-resistance tires, and all of that together achieves a drag coefficient of 0.259. It means it's slippery. It means it goes through the air real easy, not like a brick. It's offered in 6 trim levels, and you can get it in rear or all-wheel drive. Base power for the Ioniq 9 is an electric motor mounted on the rear axle that delivers 215 horsepower and 258 foot-pounds of torque. All-wheel drive models feature axle-mounted electric motors on front and rear axle. Together, they produce 303 horsepower and 446 foot-pounds of torque. The performance version of the all-wheel drive train makes 422 horsepower with 516 foot-pounds of torque. So you have your selection there. The Ioniq 9 is equipped with a 110.3 kilowatt-hour battery package with a driving range between 335 miles for rear-wheel drive to 311 miles for the high-output all-wheel drive. That works out to a range between 2.82 for the high-performance model to 3.03 miles per kilowatt-hour. If you've never heard this comparison before, let me digress right here. And I'd like to explain why I use this as opposed to the ridiculous MPGE that you will find on a window sticker, which is totally worthless, I think. Liken the battery pack to a tank of gasoline. Think about kilowatt hours as gallons. You want to know how efficient the vehicle is with each unit of power. Miles per gallon, miles per kilowatt hour. If you have a battery pack of 110 kilowatt hours, I want to know how efficient is it so I can compare apples to apples when I'm looking at it. I want to know what vehicles are most efficient in what trim levels or what powertrain arrangements when I drive it. EV trucks tend to be just under 2 miles per kilowatt hour. Lucid Air and Lucid Gravity tend to be closer to 5 miles per kilowatt hour. You can, by that, get an idea who's more efficient. Thought you should know. Drivers also have access to Drive Mode Select, a center console button that allows the choice of Eco, Normal, Sport, Snow, and My Mode driving options. All-wheel drive models add Snow, Mud, and Sand terrain modes. Cargo capacity is 86.9 cubic feet. Towing capacity with trailer brakes is 5,000 pounds. And I should mention right here that both the battery pack and the electric motors are also sourced in the good old US of A. The Ioniq 9 is built on Hyundai's Motors E-GMP architecture, featuring an enhanced power electronic system that gives drivers confidence on any terrain through its optimized gear ratio for hill climbing and advanced two-stage inverter for improved efficiency. The system also includes a battery preconditioning function that allows better, more consistent performance regardless of weather conditions. That translates into less degradation of driving range when outside temperatures get extreme. Inside the passenger cabin, a flat floor that's typical of EV models facilitates customizable seating options across 3 rows of seating. The new Hyundai 3-row includes reclinable relaxation seats in the first and second rows. A dynamic body care system with touch massage functionality and swiveling seats for second-row passengers are among key interior offerings. Here's what I liked about the Ioniq 9. First and foremost, this is one stylish vehicle. It looks great from every angle. I mean, this thing is just a looker. Really like it. I haven't found a color it didn't look good in. It literally drips of elegance and sophistication, the kind that improves a neighborhood just by parking it in the driveway. Underway, the Ioniq 9 is solid, fluid, smooth, and responsive at speed. Despite its size and heft, after all, it comes in at 3 tons, rightfully about 6,000 pounds, it's very easy to drive. The driver enjoys an outward view of the road. The optional head-up display adds to the number of command features at the driver's fingertips. Displays, controls, and switchgear are generally user-friendly. And when it comes to comfort and convenience features, the list of standard equipment is long by the time you get to the upper 2 trim levels. Same goes for the plethora of advanced driver assistant features, including Smart Park. This thing is loaded. There's just too much for me to mention here. Trust me when I tell you that on both fronts, Hyundai has you well covered. Aside from the cavernous cargo area, even with the 3rd row seat in use, you get the benefit of additional space up front. Call the front because, well, there's no gasoline engine up there. So you got all this space. Here's what I didn't like in the midst of all this goodness about the Ioniq 9. Even in the midst of this goodness, and there is plenty, I have some complaints to register. No spare tire. The gear selection setup is a funky arrangement on the steering wheel with the engine on-off button worked into that configuration too, and all I got to say is ew. Lane centering safety technology is fussy. A driver will indeed fight with it before turning it off in disgust. So here's the bottom line. This is a seriously modern Hyundai. Stylish, sophisticated, roomy, fast, safe, and functional. And even though it shares its platform with the Kia EV9 and Genesis GV60, I would prefer this one by a long shot. The base manufacturer's suggested retail price for the 2026 Hyundai Ioniq 9 starts from $58,955 for the S rear-wheel drive, up to $76,490 for the performance calligraphy design all-wheel drive. Destination charges add $1,600. Mechanical batteries, better known as flywheel energy storage systems, may hold promise for some transportation applications. This is the Tech Mobility Show.
You've got the drive. You've got the vision. Now you need the right partner to make it happen. At Playbook Investors Network, we power ambitious leaders with the tools, insight, and investment connections to move faster, grow stronger, and lead markets. We're more than advisors. We're your co-pilots in success. Because in business, standing still is not an option. Playbook Investors Network, fueling ambition, delivering results. Visit pincommunity.org.
Did you know that Tech Mobility has a YouTube channel? Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Each week, I upload a few short videos of some of the hot topics that I cover during my weekly radio program. I've designed these videos to be informative and entertaining. It's another way to keep up on current mobility and technology news and information. Be sure to watch, like, and subscribe to my channel. That's the Tech Mobility Show on YouTube. Check it out. Here on the program, we've spent plenty of time over the years talking about chemical batteries and the variety of chemical combinations that companies are evaluating and testing for various applications. What we haven't talked about are mechanical batteries. That's right. Systems that store energy physically, mechanically, rather than chemically. We're going to delve into that world right now because, you know, me, technical, and I promise not to take you too far off in the weeds. This is topic B. First, let me explain what I'm talking about. Mechanical batteries are systems that store energy physically rather than chemically. They typically convert electrical energy into kinetic or potential energy, which is then converted back into electricity when needed. The term mechanical battery is often used interchangeably with flywheel energy storage systems, which are the most common implementation. Other forms include pumped hydro storage and gravity-based systems. We've talked about pumped hydro storage. And I want to touch, if we have time, into gravity-based systems because there's a comparison between the flywheel energy storage system and gravity-based systems, which both are mechanical in nature. The flywheel systems store energy in a rapidly spinning rotor, flywheel, within a vacuum chamber to minimize air resistance. An electric motor spins the rotor to store energy charging, and when power is needed, the motor acts as a generator driven by the flywheel's momentum to produce electricity discharging. Basically, they use an electric motor, theoretically, when the cost of power is low, to spin the thing up. And because it's in a vacuum, there is no resistance. There's no air resistance to lose power. So it just keeps spinning. And when they need it back, then they use it as a generator to generate electricity. Mechanical. Let me stop right here. Let me give you the difference in what they call a gravity-based system. And I'm going to wheel to that. Battery-based system uses a weight that is dropped a great distance to generate that energy. Typically, an example of this would be they like to use abandoned mines and shafts and things like that. They suspend weights up to 12,000 tons in deep decommissioned mine shafts. A winch system raises the weight to store energy and drops it to generate power. The advantage, by using existing shafts, they avoid massive construction costs of building a large, tall tower, and you wouldn't have the not in my backyard movement said opposition as large surface structures. Both these systems use physics to generate electricity, and the advantages, both depending where you want. One of the major disadvantages of a gravity-based system, one, the amount of weight needed, and the fact that it's going to drop a distance in order to get the benefit. Where do you put something like that if you're not in a part of the country that has an abandoned mine? Obviously, having that much weight in the air is a risk, particularly because you've got to have it braked or secure in spot until ready. What happens over time should the brakes fail? Flip side, let's talk about the flywheel before we go any further. Yes, the flywheel is inherently safer, but you are going to spend more money up front building the structure, the vacuum situation, and the ability to contain it, because being heavy and spinning at a high rate, should the flywheel implode, break apart, get damaged, you need something to capture all those pieces. Otherwise, you're going to have another kind of problem, because right now it's operating in a vacuum. And the biggest outlay of cost is all these safety structures required in order to facilitate whether it is a flywheel operating system or a gravity-based system. Both of these have big-time upfront cost. But over time, because they don't degrade, they end up costing pennies, as opposed to a chemical system, which has a fixed number of times that you can charge and recharge, whether it's lithium ion or whatever battery chemistry you're using. It's more dense than these are, so definitely more power, and can be used in more compact ways because of its density, but they don't last nearly as long, and that's the issue. Plus, you have thermal risks with a lithium ion battery electrolyte over time, which could short out and cause a thermal runaway and a fire. And these fires, as we're finding out, are very difficult to extinguish. It's not just a typical fire. So, how can you use a flywheel energy storage system? Where would you use this thing? Well, let me back up a minute, talk about what I left out, the components. A modern flywheel energy storage system, FESS, typically consists of a high-strength composite rotor, magnetic bearings to reduce friction, a vacuum enclosure, and a motor generator unit. Typically, you would use something like this for applications requiring rapid, high-power energy bursts, such as grid frequency regulation, uninterruptible power supplies for data centers, regenerative braking in electric vehicles and trains, and integration with renewable energy sources to smooth out intermittent power flow. If there is one big challenge in the grid, it's the fluctuation of power. Think about it this way. A big industry like a steel plant or a manufacturing plant comes online. They've got to balance that load, because when it comes on, the whole load's going to know it. An FESS system could even that out as a hot, ready, spinning way to relieve load on demand right now. And that's the big thing. It's a balancing act. Your grid, your electrical grid, is really a balancing act of demand and availability. And when it gets out of sync, when things happen because of failures, it can get real bad real quick. So a FESS system would be an advantage, particularly as you're looking to mitigate the availability of renewable sources, because between batteries and the fact that the sun's not out all the time and the wind don't blow all the time, part of that is you would put it in the batteries, but having the battery power available to the grid in real time, on demand, you'd want a FESS system, because it stores, theoretically, kinetic energy. Rotational motion is how it's stored. as opposed to lithium ion or a chemical-based battery that stores it as chemical potential energy. The chemical batteries degrade with every cycle. Mechanical batteries, long lifespan in decades with minimal degradation. While they're high efficiency, they're not high density, and that's part of the challenge. There are applications for it, but mainly grid and industrial applications as opposed to personal applications. But now you know about mechanical batteries, because I'm always about teaching you something, and this is the best advantage of all time. And we'll talk more about it as they become more and more popular, and they will. We have talked about AI and war in the past, primarily as hypothetical. At least it was, till now. We talk about when AI and war got real. We are the Tech Mobility Show.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than aonmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. aonmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. That's techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show.
In business, opportunity doesn't wait, and neither should you. At Playbook Investors Network, we connect visionary entrepreneurs with the strategies, resources, and capital they need to win. Whether you're launching, scaling, or reimagining your business, our network turns ambition into measurable success. Your vision deserves more than a plan. It deserves a playbook that works. Playbook Investors Network, where bold ideas meet bold results. Visit pincommunity.org today.
Did you know that Tech Mobility has a YouTube channel? Hi, I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. Each week, I upload a few short videos of some of the hot topics that I cover during my weekly radio program. I've designed these videos to be informative and entertaining. It's another way to keep up on current mobility and technology news and information. Be sure to watch, like, and subscribe to my channel. That's the Tech Mobility Show on YouTube. Check it out. Of all the things that concern me about AI, even as I use it extensively in my business, is when, and perhaps how, it might be used by the military. AI has obvious and not so obvious shortcomings that make it a dubious resource when you don't have time to verify its recommendations or plans. Heaven forbid if you set it to automatic with no oversight. Yet, it seems we've already come to the edge as the Pentagon and Anthropic AI have a difference of opinion when it comes to AI and nuclear war. This is topic C. I don't even know where to start. I don't. But let me put it to you this way. We've talked about this recently. And having a human in the loop, which is what the Pentagon is saying, oh, there'll be a human in the loop, isn't enough. If you recall, you want to go back 3-4 months, we talked about the nuclear command and control, the three C's, nuclear 3C, in terms of when it comes to AI. Will you have somebody high enough in the loop that has the knowledge, experience, and training to deduce under a very stressful situation whether or not what AI is recommending at this time is what you want to do? I know down through the years, and I'm about to do it to you again, I've referenced movies, and I'm thinking of 2 movies right now. One's a real old one called War Games, 1983, where the military literally turned over that control to a computer. Bear in mind, 1983. And it brought them right to the edge. More recent movie with Idris Elba. It's called House of Dynamite. If you haven't seen it, you should. And the premise behind House of Dynamite, from different viewpoints, they bring you to the same final point, but from different viewpoints of people in that loop. An interballistic missile is launched from somewhere in Asia. They don't know who launched it. They can't tell. And they think at first it's not going to be a big deal, but they figure out in a few minutes it's heading for Chicago. They don't know who launched it, but it's definitely heading for Chicago. They scramble their little devices. I think they mentioned they spent $15 billion to intercept it, blow it up. One of the officers says it's like trying to hit a needle in a haystack. They send the devices towards it. It misses. Does not do the job. Still coming for Chicago, minutes away. In this panic, what do you do? If, in fact, a warring country launched it, you have to deduce that and determine if you're going to make a first strike. Was it a mistake? Was it not even a nation state, but just a bad actor that got a hold of this stuff and launched it for this precise purpose? What do you do? The movie ends without the president making a decision, seconds away from Chicago being decimated because they're under pressure. They don't know who did it. They don't know, do we do a preemptive first strike, but against who? And if you do, does that make things worse if you're wrong? Now, imagine AI in that. AI, which does have some good things, but remember, AI is trained as a large language model. It trains from a lot of data, looking at way more data than humanly possible. But get this, there's only been 2 times in our entire history when a nuclear warhead has been launched in the world, and we did it under Harry Truman almost 80 years ago. And we did it during wartime. And we did it with a specific goal in mind to end hostilities, which it did. Now, look at now. That's all that's available out there for a large language model to deduce stuff. 80 years of keeping everybody in check. What if AI came back and said, well, based on our best guess, it's this country or that country? And what if it's wrong? What if it's hallucinating? Because AI does do that. Anthropic AI, with all the money that Google invested down through the years in this system. I'm sorry, not Google, Amazon. Sorry. Billions. Came down to how it should be deployed. The Pentagon swearing up and down, we will have a human in the loop. But we want this thing designed to do this. But leading figures in the development of the technology have long had ethical and legal concerns about giving AI the power to make life and death decisions or turbocharging surveillance because it is flawed. And in this situation, when you are dealing with nuclear warheads, you don't have room for I'm not sure or maybe. You don't have a chance to find out if the AI's information is wrong or hallucinating. This is not the time. This is not the place for it. It's stressful enough with various humans in the loop trying to get down to what was going on when you may have, it tops at most 10 to 15 minutes to assess, review, and make a decision. And the decision you make under these terms are, let's just say, could be planet ending for everybody because of what will happen. With the rest of the world watching, knowing and tracking the same interballistic missile coming this way and wondering, are they going to hit us? And if so, should we hit them? What do you do? I've asked over and over, can AI fight an ethical war? I talked to you about a white paper that we looked at the ethics of AI and how it pertains to the military nuclear structure, command and control structure. And I referenced the paper from 2023, now almost 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, that talked about this at length, made suggestions. Congress ain't even weighed in on any of this. And there needs to be discussion. There needs to be a conversation. Because this is a zero-sum game. This is not, oh, we made a mistake. Oh, we guessed wrong. You don't get a second chance. Our nuclear stockpile and the 7 other countries that have nuclear capabilities could be at risk if any of them employed AI and the AI chose to hallucinate and make decisions and lock out the humans. Now what? I'm not okay. You shouldn't be either. You should be asking for more responsibility, more control, less AI in this situation. I'd feel actually more comfortable with humans involved because there's a nuance that AI does not get and may not pick up. And it's too late to be guessing on what that is. Food for thought.
This is the Tech Mobility Podcast.
Every great business starts with a spark, but taking it to the next level takes strategy, connections, and capital. That's where Playbook Investors Network comes in. We're your strategic partner for accelerating growth, navigating challenges, and capturing market opportunities before your competition does. Your business is more than an idea. Let's make it an impact. Playbook Investors Network. Your future starts here. Learn more at pincommunity.org.
To learn more about the Tech Mobility Show, start by visiting our website. I'm Ken Chester, host of the Tech Mobility Show. The website is a treasure trove of information about me and the show, as well as where to find it on the radio across the country. Keep up with the happenings at the Tech Mobility Show by visiting techmobility.show. You can also drop us a line at talk@techmobility.show.
Are you tired of juggling multiple apps and platforms for meetings, webinars, and staying connected? Look no further than aonmeetings.com, the all-in-one browser-based platform that does it all. With AON Meetings, you can effortlessly communicate with clients, host virtual meetings and webinars, and stay in touch with family and friends, all in one place and for one price. Here's the best part. You can enjoy a 30-day free trial. It's time to simplify your life and boost your productivity. aonmeetings.com, where innovation meets connection. Get started today and revolutionize the way you communicate.
You've got the drive. You've got the vision. Now you need the right partner to make it happen. At Playbook Investors Network, we power ambitious leaders with the tools, insight, and investment connections to move faster, grow stronger, and lead markets. We're more than advisors. We're your co-pilots in success. Because in business, standing still is not an option. Playbook Investors Network, fueling ambition, delivering results. Visit pincommunity.org.